we spoke about this probably years ago in terms of the type of quality products that were being made in China and the concerns that, are they using lead paint? Are they using the right materials in the devices? That, I think, was a big concern years ago. But now, because it's under the Monopoly Act, because China is regulating e-cigarettes, I think the quality controls are much, much better than they used to be. And the people who are sort of, maybe in the past, making them out of their garage are no longer in existence.
I mean, obviously, all devices are pretty much made in China, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. But I think, again, because there's a monopoly and the regulations are now in place, I think the players that are making these products are legitimate manufacturers.
Sir, you're with Keller and Heckman,
right,
in Shanghai.
That's right. What
kind of stuff are you doing in this area?
So we opened up our Shanghai office back in 2004. So we've been there over 20 years. We primarily focus on food and consumer products, but with that, obviously, e-cigarettes came into play when we started to see the demand for e-cigarettes, and I coordinated with Azim in terms of how we can help our clients, since, as you say, I think it's 99%, 98% of the products are made in a small district, Bao'an, in Shenzhen, and then exported to the U.S. So having an office in China and having an office in the U.S. and, of course, in Europe, it just sort of made sense to kind of watch the regulations from all sides and help navigate and counsel our clients.
So do the regulations in China have an impact here in the U.S.?
I think so. I think, there are certain requirements. For example, we touched on it today at the conference. My colleague Eric Gu spoke about the production license. So everyone who's producing a product in China has to have a production license, even if it's for export only. There are some exemptions for export-only products, but a production license, because you're manufacturing in China, you have to comply with all four corners of that. And that, again, goes to stricter quality control and quality assurance measures. And so we do advise our clients who are maybe either making it themselves in China or they have, business relationships with companies that are making the products but then exporting it. So you got to know what the laws are in China if you want to make it over here safely.
The regulations in China are not favorable to flavors, are they?
No, in fact, they grappled with that for a few years. They finally came out with, I think it's an Annex A or Annex B list. So that's a finite list of substances that can be used as additives. There are a few, if you look at that list, it's not a very long list, that would act and function as flavors. I think elderflower or some of these extracts are listed there. So it's not a complete ban, and you can add to that list. It's a positive list that you can expand if you can demonstrate safety. So, I do a lot of work in the EU, at the member state level. There are certain member states that absolutely have banned, as you know, flavors. I wouldn't say it's an absolute ban in China. It's just you have to make sure your additive, your flavor is on that list.
I know one of our concerns back, I guess it was 21 or 22, I think it was around that time, was that, well, what happens if, China turns against vaping to the extent that they stopped exporting?
Right, and we touched on this again today. It's now under the CNTC monopoly, so this is a massive tax revenue generator for the country. I think it's probably in the ballpark of $600 billion a year. I mean, that's the number I remember from a few years ago, so don't quote me on that now.
But just for vaping or for all the tobacco?
Everything under the Tobacco Monopoly Act. And so back in, I think it was November of 2022, roughly, when they put e-cigarettes under that monopoly. And so as a result of that, they're collecting the tax revenues from that. So it's a win-win, I think.
So last question just about the event. I mean, how did you think it went this year?
There's a lot of information, and I think what makes it complicated is the different levels of regulations take in the US. You've got 50 plus states, or 50 states that are regulating at different state levels. I spoke about the EU today, where you've got 27 member states. While they do have sort of this federal, the Tobacco Products Directive as sort of the harmonized federal laws, you really have to look at every member state, because there's going to be specific requirements on labeling and warnings. And so you really, if you're going to market in the EU or in the US, it's not just looking at the federal or national law. You really have to dig and look closer at where the products will end up. So if they're going to end up in Spain, you have to make sure you meet those requirements versus France. And the same again with the US. New York may have different rules than California, as we've discussed today. So that's what I think makes it very complicated for the manufacturers and the companies that want to market, because it's not just what are the laws in the US. It's what are the laws in the US and then the individual states that I have to be mindful of. And that's what makes it very complicated for our clients, and something we have to track very closely on a regular basis, because it changes all the time.
And it keeps good lawyers in business.
And it keeps us in business, yes. It keeps us in business. But overall, Azim has done a fantastic job, as he always does, and we've brought a lot of great people together, not just lawyers, but also industry from different aspects of the supply chain. So I think it was a good success.